I stopped paying for text to speech and speech to text audio services. My agent just built me something better, and it's completely free. And it's not just text to speech, it's an entire audio production pipeline. Spoken articles, custom voices, even emotion tags, all running locally on my laptop. No subscriptions, no API keys, just a single command. I'm Sharan and this is RedXF. This is the second video in a series about building custom tools with your agent. The last time we covered image generation, how to build your own local image tool. Today we are doing the same thing for audio. By the end of this video, you'll have the exact prompt I used to get my agent to build an audio tool called Audio 37. And that will open up new ways for you to interact with your computer. Let's deal with the obvious question first. Why build a tool at all? Why not just ask your agent to generate the audio every time you need it? Well, there are two reasons. First, speed and tokens. Every time your agent reads a code base, figures out how a model works, and generates a file, it burns tokens and time. A tool wraps all that complexity into a single command. Your agent just calls the tool and it's done. The second, and this is the big one, it's about reusability. In fact, if you ever catch yourself performing a task or a set of tasks that have little variation, that's an opportunity for you to turn that into an app or at least a Python script. Once you have that app, any agent you run can use it. I have multiple agents running right now. One handles my company social media accounts, one handles my personal accounts. They both use the exact same posting tool. The same backend, same browser automation, same API calls. I built it once and they both get to use it. That same pattern applies to audio. Build it once, use it everywhere. I listen to a lot of podcasts and audio articles when I'm walking the dog or running errands. It's just more convenient than reading for me. So naturally, I felt others would also feel the same. And when I started publishing articles, I wanted every single one to have an audio version. For a while, I used 11 Labs. They were the best in the field. But in the past 6 months, open source text to speech services or TTS models have caught up dramatically. And they run locally, no subscriptions, no usage limits, just your own hardware. The ones that are worth knowing about are Kokoro, Fish Audio S2 Pro, Chatterbox in both the turbo and the multilingual variants, Quen TTS in the bass and the and the turbo variant, as well as Lux TTS. They differ in what they offer. Kokoro has 54 preset voices, but no cloning, no voice cloning. Fish Audio S2 Pro has one generic preset, but supports full voice cloning and around 30 emotion tags like whisper, laugh, and such. Chatterbox Turbo does English only with expression tags. The multilingual variant covers 23 languages. Quen's base model clones voices but has no expression. It's got its own expression. Well, let me put it that way. Its custom variant has 9 presets and supports instruct-based emotions. And Lux TTS is the lightweight option. It's got the smallest download, fast, and it's got multi-language voice cloning as well. The point is, you have real options now. You don't need a SaaS subscription to get professional sounding spoken audio. The first step is getting a single model installed and working. I started with Fish Audio S2 Pro because it supports both expression tags and voice cloning. The installation is straightforward. You give your agent the repository link and ask it to follow the instructions. The instructions are on the screen now. One pro tip, tell your agent to use UV for Python package management and create isolated virtual environments. This sounds like a small detail, but it saves you an enormous amount of dependency pain later on, especially when you start adding multiple models. Once the model is installed, run a simple test. ask your agent to generate a basic audio file, something like, "Hello, how are you?" Just to prove that the model works. Don't skip this step. If the model can't generate the simple file, your wrapper won't either. Now, here's the critical part. Without a wrapper, every time you want audio, your agent rereads this fish audio code base, figures out how the API works again, and then generates the file. That costs token and time, as I mentioned earlier. And it gets worse as you add more and more models because it'll have to read each of them. So you build an orchestration layer, and I call that orchestration layer Audio 37. The architecture is simple. Audio 37 runs its own virtual environment and only handles the command line interface logic. Each TTS provider lives in its own isolated environment, and when Audio 37 needs to generate the audio, it calls the right provider via a subprocess, pointing to that provider's Python interpreter in its own virtual environment. Everything outputs to a storage folder inside the Audio 37 directory. The CLI accepts all inputs as parameters with intelligent defaults. If you don't specify an audio output format, it defaults to MP3. If you don't specify a voice, it picks a sensible one. These kind of customizations can be built by you. So you just type one single command and get a file path back for the audio file. The prompt I used is in the article linked below, but the core of it is this, and it's on the screen for you. Build a CLI tool that delegates to existing providers, stores outputs locally, and creates an agent.md file so that future agents know how to use it. The agents.md file is important. Any agent that encounters your tool for the first time reads only this file and knows exactly how to use and what parameters to pass and where the outputs are to be expected. You write this once, every future agent benefits from it. Test the wrapper with something simple again. Ask your agent to generate audio of the text, "Hey, it's me again. I hope it works as it should." If you get a file path back inside the Audio 37 storage folder, you're done. This is where it gets fun. Voice cloning used to be terrible before, but not anymore. Early models would hear, for example, my voice and output something that sounded like a generic Indian newsreader. Not my voice, it sounded like a stereotype of my voice. That's because those models were trained on biased data sets and would default to prototypical voices. The newer models are much better. They actually try to copy your specific voice. It's not perfect, but it's absolutely usable now. Here's what I sound like through these models. Kokoro outputs a standard voice, so I'll play it for reference.
The Fable ban when export controls became self-sabotage. An analysis of the US government's decision to bar Anthropic.
Right? So that's just a standard British male voice that it's used in order to produce the audio for an article I wrote, right? So here's what fish audio sounds like with my voice. The Fable ban when export controls became self-sabotage. An analysis of the US government's decision to bar Anthropic from providing its Fable model to non-US users. Last week's Fable bar Anthropic. It just sounds a little odd. It doesn't sound like me at all. Lux sounds like this. The Fable ban when export controls became self-sabotage. An analysis of the US government's decision to bar Anthropic from providing its Fable model to... I feel this sounds a lot better, doesn't it? It sounds a lot closer to how I speak. But just for reference, here's Gwen. The Fable ban when export controls came self-sabotage. An analysis of the US government's decision to bar Anthropic from providing its Fable model to non-US users. It sounds a little canned. It sounds like a prototypical voice more than mine. But the reason I'm playing all of them is so that you get to understand how voice cloning actually works. Lux CTS is obviously my preference out of those, but you'll likely see a difference based on your own accent. But Lux TTS is tiny, fast, and the results are more than good enough. You ask your agent to install Lux TTS from the GitHub repo, set it up in its own virtual environment with UV, and then wire it into Audio 37 as a second provider. You also add a custom _voices folder inside Audio 37. Drop a recording of your voice in there, about 20 seconds is plenty. Name it default.wave. And now Audio 37 can produce any text in your own voice. Test it with something real. I asked mine to read the top headline from bbc.com in my clone voice. So it pulled the headline, fed it into LuxTTS, and returned an audio file that sounds like me reading the news. The whole thing took seconds. If the speech feels too fast, which is likely, just tell your agent to set the default speed to 0.8 when no speed is specified. Audio 37 handles the rest. Here's where it gets powerful. Remember how I said I wanted audio versions of every article I've written? I've integrated Audio 37 into my entire publishing pipeline. Now, when I finish writing an article in Obsidian, I ask my agent to handle the full publishing workflow. It generates the header image using image 37 from the previous video, creates the audio version using Audio 37, adds both of them to the Astro site, builds the static files, and pushes everything to GitHub for publishing. Everything is automatic. I write the article, the agent does the rest. That's the real value of building tools instead of one-off prompts. You don't just get an audio generation, you get to a reusable component that slots into a larger workflow. The tool we built today covers text-to-speech and voice cloning, but you can extend it with a few obvious directions. Speech to text is the mirror image. You feed Audio 37 an audio file and you get back a text transcript. This can be useful too. Multiple voices for podcast style scripts where different speakers read different sections. You can do this and have a notebook LM style audio of almost anything you can imagine. Emotion tags for whispering, laughing, and expressing surprise. This would make any audio much richer and sound more engaging. And automatic cleanup of your storage folder so that it doesn't just grow forever. This is just an administrative task and it just makes sense to have. If you want detailed instructions on any of these extensions, drop me a message and I'll make a follow-up video covering the same. Building these tools is genuinely rewarding. You end up with a lot of capability in your hands. And the best part is your usage pattern doesn't change. You still ask your agent for the audio, but it's now just much faster and it's free. But probably most importantly, it's local and therefore private. Next week, I should be discussing video tools that I've built for myself, and that's something I'll get back to. But I'm excited about some of the art that I've been creating with Hermes Agent. So I'll be walking you guys through my gallery and showing you what I created. I did this because I wanted to explore what I can do now that I couldn't do before, and I think you'll like seeing what's possible. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.